I'm Savannah.
And I'm Elysia.
And this is Burden of Proof.
Well, I don't think we have any announcements. We're double upping on our recordings, so usually we end up with not a lot to talk about at the front end.
Because we did it all already.
On our second recording of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah. But this is our Father's Day case, if you will.
Oh, I remember you telling me this, and I honestly, you guys, I'm going in completely blind. I don't even know the name of the episode we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I have literally no idea. She told me on Friday that it was the Father's Day episode, forgot until just now.
Yeah. And my apologies to all the moms because of the way everything worked out.
Yeah.
I think that may have been my case.
Bonnie Craig came out, and that was kind of mom-based.
Oh,
Mom
yeah.
did great in Bonnie Craig.
Yeah, I should have talked about Mother's Day.
Whoopsies.
It just didn't totally feel like a Mother's Day case in
yeah.
a sense, but yeah. But she rocked and moms rock, and I'm sorry.
Moms do rock.
Good dads rock.
Doesn't bode well for our case today when you say it like that.
Yeah. No, this case has 3 fathers.
Okay.
2 of which are good.
Okay.
1 not so much.
Oh, no.
So happy Father's Day.
To the goodies.
I was inspired by the holiday to choose this case. I feel like it showcases just how complicated our relationships with fathers can be.
Truly, they can be.
If you're ready, we'll jump right in.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. It all took place in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and centers on the victim, Marc Despain. The eldest child and only son to Jack and Tana Despain, Marc made growing up look easy.
Shout out to Marc.
He was always a charmer when it came to his peers and made his family proud when he became the high school football star.
Oh my gosh. Did you see what Marc was wearing?
Yeah, and in the South, you know
that's a big deal.
That's a huge deal.
It is a really big deal.
But life for Marc got much more complicated not long after graduating high school. At 19, he met 18-year-old Michelle, and it wasn't long before she was pregnant with their first son. According to Marc's mother, Tana, getting married is just what you do when you've gotten your girlfriend pregnant.
Yeah, in Arkansas, for sure.
In Arkansas, and this was I think in the early 90s, I want to say. So, yeah. So, the young couple had their quick wedding, and just like that, Marc was a husband, father, and stepfather. Unlike Marc, this was not Michelle's first parent rodeo. She had a young daughter from a previous relationship, but Marc had accepted the daughter just as if she were his child from the start. And honestly, so did his parents.
That's sweet.
The odds seemed to be in the couple's favor, despite all the, I'm using the term, statistical strikes against them.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, on top of the obvious, being young and immediately jumping into parenthood, the two came from very different backgrounds. Marc grew up in a both financially and emotionally secure environment with parents who had been together and doing relatively well for themselves his whole life. Michelle grew up in a less secure environment with divorced parents and a father who was sketchy at best.
Okay.
The little family started out living in a mobile home Marc's parents helped them get. Marc decided to follow in his mom's footsteps and studied to get his real estate license. Ultimately, he and his parents both invested into a real estate business together. And along the way, Marc and Michelle had another son, which may have been a catalyst for Marc's next business move, but I don't know.
Okay.
There's some he said, she said stuff going on between the family. But it sounded like the timing of his move, business-wise, happened around the same time that they had their third son. I'm sorry, their second son, third child.
Yes.
According to Michelle, tension grew between Marc and his father, Jack, when they started the first business because Marc wanted to be independent but felt like Jack pushed him around, which can be plausible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a father-son
Family
dynamic.
businesses are complicated.
On the other hand, Mark's sister, Jackie, says that the tension definitely hit a boiling point when Mark demanded a larger share of the business. She said that when Michelle put her 2 cents in, Jack hit the roof, and Mark defended her as any husband would, but it really pushed it into a whole new category of family troubles. So, Mark distanced himself from his parents and decided to start his own real estate investment business with Michelle acting as his bookkeeper. According to Michelle's mother, Kathy, the couple accomplished amazing things in a short time. So now we're kind of into the early 2000s, like the big boom before the recession. And the money almost immediately started rolling in from flipping homes. And it wasn't long before Mark and Michelle put even more physical distance between them and Mark's parents when they bought a large home on the south side of town. As the distance grew between Mark and his family, he and Michelle were spending a lot more time and money on Michelle's family, doing things like paying for all of them to go on vacations together. I believe he bought her father a home to live in. And he even hired Michelle's dad, Carl, to collect the rent from tenants of their rental properties. Yeah. By 2011, their 3 kids were pretty much grown. And I believe the couple were brand newly empty nesters.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that. So Michelle had gone back to work once the kids were a little older and independent, and at that time she was employed at a local bank. Mark's work, of course, allowed him flexibility, and he worked from home. And on a hot August afternoon in 2011, Michelle invited Mark to meet her for lunch on her break, and after lunch, she suggested they head across the street for ice cream.
Because, I mean, you need a sweet treat.
Yeah. Afterwards, Mark went home, and Michelle went back to work, but she left around 3 p.m. And when she arrived home, she says she noticed as she entered the house that the lights were all off and there was stuff knocked onto the floor.
Oh, no.
Then when she walked into the kitchen and found Mark laying on the floor in a puddle of blood, she says she shook his leg and called his name. But as she looked around and saw that the house appeared to be ransacked, she got scared and ran back outside to call 911.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, valid.
As she called emergency services, she ran to a neighbor's house. She told the dispatcher that the neighbor was not answering the door, so the dispatcher offered to stay on the phone with her, but Michelle told her no, that she needed to call her mom.
Okay.
If I can describe how she sounds on the 911 call, I would say it kind of sounds like she's crying, but it also kind of just sounds like she's out of breath.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
Well, she called her mom, and Kathy arrived to find Michelle sitting on the curb. And it wasn't until then that Michelle jumped up and is like, I have to get back to him, and tries to go back to the house.
Okay, I'm starting to get a little suspicious. Because, like, on one hand, they could be normal reactions. It's hard to judge how people react to things.
True.
But on the other hand, it's just a lot of strange reactions.
Also true.
And also, I can see Alicia's face.
Also true.
Y'all can't see it, but I can see it.
Of course, they did not allow Michelle back into the house.
Right.
And before long, several family members arrived and are all standing outside watching at a distance as investigators began their work. And so they stood and they watched until Jack, Mark's dad, arrived. Carl, Michelle's dad, began yelling at Jack. And there's that son of a bitch, Jack.
This has escalated.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you calling him a son of a bitch?
The two caused quite a scene. which of course was noteworthy to police, but they moved on to the usual steps. A canvass of the neighborhood uncovered several witnesses who claimed to see a beat-up blue Mercedes circling the area, and one witness saw a black man near the home. Okay, keep in mind, I know that sounds ugh, but keep in mind, we are in Arkansas in a predominantly wealthy white neighborhood. So
Right.
the cops basically were just asking, did you see anybody unusual or that you don't normally see, like strangers? This is a pretty
Right.
tight-knit neighborhood, and that's what they got from people. Detectives state that the house had been ransacked as if someone was looking for something, but they relatively quickly established that nothing of value was actually taken.
Right. Which is always the case. Like, and
Mhm.
I've said it before, and I will say it a million times. Robberies typically don't end in murders. I mean, it happens, to be sure.
Yeah.
But never on a case that we've covered. It's almost always been a murder.
Yeah. Although we wouldn't really be covering robberies.
Well, I guess that's true. That's
you
true.
know, I just thought.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I mean, statistically,
You just know if I say a house has been ransacked, that's not.
it doesn't mean
It's not
that-
going to end there.
Yeah, they're suspicious.
It's suspicious. So, when Michelle and family members were questioned at the scene, no one directly stated who they thought would hurt Mark. They were all kind of like, no, he doesn't have
don't
any
know.
enemies.
Like-
I don't know.
Also, like, if you know somebody in your life is capable of murder, that's awkward.
Yeah, and they're pretty much all standing there.
Right there.
So
Yeah,
they're
they
gonna,
can't say, like,
he did it. She
Right.
did it.
right.
You know.
All of the tension is in the room.
Yeah.
The call
So-
is coming from inside the house.
Well,
Oh, no.
as the investigation got underway, though, detectives discovered that the Despains were having some major money trouble. And when I say the Despains, I'm speaking of Mark and Michelle
Mm.
were having money trouble.
Okay.
Kathy, Michelle's mom, admitted that Mark had recently asked her for money, which was extremely unusual. She said basically that they had gone from like spending money, like they just were always
Yeah.
paying for stuff and they seemed to be doing great. And then all of a sudden it was like they had nothing. And
That's weird.
she took note that that was very unusual. Well, once the police had access to financial records, they found that Mark's real estate business was actually upside down, and the banks were looking to foreclose on several of the properties, which meant tenants were going to even be forced out of their homes.
Oh, that's horrible.
They also found that Mark and his parents had filed lawsuits against each other because investigators had witnessed the whole scene between Jack and Carl and had then been told that Jack was hot-tempered. The news of the lawsuits troubled them.
Also, Jack and Carl, dad names.
Very, very dad names, yeah.
I'm also just want the group to know that when you keep saying Jack, I am picturing Monica and Ross's dad, Jack,
No,
from Friends.
no, don't picture him. I'm trying to think of a dad. I hate to say it, but for some reason, all I can think of is Santa Claus.
Okay, I will happily
Like he would make a really good Santa Claus.
Oh, okay. So you're
He's-
saying like
He's kind of a bigger guy, and then of course, like I don't know how he was built when he was younger. When he was younger, he was probably fit, but like he looks like an older guy that you could tell was fit in his day.
Yeah.
He looks pretty tall, and he's got like a full, not a full white beard, but like a pretty full white goatee.
okay, so like Santa in spring.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. It's in my head.
Okay. So now the detectives are looking pretty closely at Jack.
Yeah, because the lawsuits are troubling. But I don't think it's Jack.
Michelle and her family had multiple claims, including that the division between him and Mark was about far more than just business. Years before, when Michelle's daughter was just 13, she claimed that Jack had asked her to take nude photos of herself on his phone.
Oh, Jack. Naughty Santa. Going on the naughty list.
Stop.
Oh my god.
I am only laughing because you'll see. If it were true, I would, if I believed that it were true, I would.
I know. I figured by the way your face looked that it wasn't true. Also,
I'm sorry. I'm trying really hard not to sound biased in this, but it's so hard.
Well, I don't know what's coming, and it's not that you sound biased at all. I think I agree with you just on like the premise.
Okay.
Something's hinky with Michelle, and that's the problem. That's what makes me keep thinking it's not Jack. It's because Michelle's acting so odd.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying not to sound biased, but
yeah.
So Mark called a family meeting and confronted Jack, who swore he had done no such thing. Mark called the police, and Tana left Jack to go stay with Mark and Michelle.
Okay, I mean, I can't blame her for that until she knows for sure. Like, that's...
Yeah. Police questioned Michelle's daughter, then they questioned Jack, and then they went back to the daughter. They said that the girl had changed her story each time.
Right.
Like, from what she originally told the family, to what she told them the first time, to what she told them the second time.
Right.
And that every single time she changed her story, she made it more elaborate. So pretty much they didn't believe her. They're like,
right.
No, this is not how victims.
Sounds coached.
Yeah. So they dropped the investigation and let Jack go.
I hate to interrupt you again, but for the Gen Z listeners, when you say Tana, I am picturing Tana Mojo. And that is making the story better. Santa Claus and Tana Mojo.
And for me, I don't know who you're talking about.
She's a YouTuber.
Okay.
Blonde with filler. I actually really like Tana Mojo, so it's not a diss.
This Tana is blonde.
Okay.
She very much fits a petite Southern mama.
All right, cool.
Like
with Santa Claus in the spring.
Like she has, I mean this in the nicest way possible, as a person with a little extra weight, as a mama with a little extra weight. Like she carries her weight well. Like she's a little overweight, but like in a Southern mama good kind of way.
Yeah.
She's very cute.
Okay. Good to know.
She's a cute Southern mama. Like
I love that I'm not just Googling it and I'm making you describe it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really invested and I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah. No, yes, please don't. Because you will have opinions. I have no doubt you'll have opinions. So
okay.
Yeah. Okay. So poor Tana felt horrible for doubting Jack.
I can see that, but I also see why she reacted the way she did.
Yes. I do too. Because you never want to like instantly doubt a victim's story.
Right.
Or potential victim. But she had known Jack since high school. They were like high school sweethearts or something. Or at least knew each other in high school. And they had been married for 30 years or more.
Right.
So you would think that in that amount of time, if he were like some kind of creeper or pervert or pedophile, she would have caught on to something.
Right.
And so that's why she felt so bad.
Well, and they raised kids together. Like,
yeah. And like they have a daughter. I'm sure their daughter had friends over and whatever.
Right.
And then their daughter has kids. Like, so she said she just felt so bad because, you know, he had never been accused of anything like that before.
Right.
And so she felt like, why did I doubt him? But Mark and Michelle, on the other hand.
Well, and also her granddaughter is in question. Like the safety.
Yes.
You know, and that's, you know, anyway.
Yeah. Mark and Michelle, on the other hand, believed their daughter and cut off all contact with Jack and Tana, as well as with Jackie, Mark's sister, when she refused to take their side. Like she was trying to stay neutral.
Okay.
Like she's like, I'm not faulting your daughter. for saying something, for whatever
Right.
she's saying. I'm sure she has her reasons for like making something up, but I don't believe that my father would ever do anything. He's never done anything like this.
Right.
So there we go. We have a split, both business-wise and personal. And when the detective first questioned Jack about all of this, he broke down crying. Like this big man that seems so, like, he doesn't look like a macho man. He truly, honestly, he seems like a true alpha man.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Not one that says they're an alpha.
Yeah. If you have to say you're an alpha, you're not
alpha
an alpha
man.
Yeah.
Like quiet, reserved, manly, not macho.
Yes. And I'm glad we have the same brain and we understand this distinction.
Yes. So this big man broke down, sobbing, but was absolutely willing. He was not doing it to get out of questioning. He absolutely was willing to answer all the questions. And he explained that whole situation, saying that the accusations against him regarding their daughter were completely untrue, that she had been over at their house and he had discovered that she was sending nude photos of herself to at least one boy.
Okay.
And that he confronted her. He told her he was going to tell her parents, but she got to them first, basically. And then she made that accusation against him.
Oh, okay.
He admitted the accusation nearly destroyed him. Like, he was just...
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Torn up about it. He said he had begun drinking and was a mess for months over it. So the detective probed if that was enough to send him over the edge against Mark. And Jack told him no. Even though they hadn't talked in 4 or 5 years, he loved Mark dearly and had hoped one day to reconcile.
Right, and I'm sure he also didn't feel like he could fault his son for trying to protect his daughter. Like,
Jack also had an alibi for the time Mark was killed.
I knew my man was going to be fine.
He was patching some roofing on his own house across town at that time, and witnesses could confirm that. So next, detectives conducted longer interviews with Carl, Michelle's dad. Take a deep breath. Carl claimed that Jack spewed threats like, quote, "I will ruin your family for this," when everyone believed the allegations against him. He went on to say that Jack was a hothead despite his own behavior at the crime scene.
You started the fight.
Yeah, and flat out told the detective that if he were to point the finger at anyone for Mark's death, it would be Jack. Then Michelle went in for another interview, and though she had claimed not to know who had hurt Mark at the scene, she told the detective that she believed Jack was the only person with motive, and also described him as being bad-tempered. The lead detective decided to attend Mark's calling hours at the funeral home, basically to observe the family.
Right.
He said it was the oddest thing he'd ever been to.
Okay.
He clarifies, stating that it just did not feel right. It felt really cold. Like everybody just felt like non-emotional and cold and distant.
At a wake.
But here's why. Michelle had banned Mark's family from attending the funeral.
I was going to say, that doesn't sound right. Like, Santa? Cold? He's jolly.
Yeah. They came regardless, but they kept their distance. They stood at a distance, and according to Jackie, Mark's sister, Michelle directed the cemetery workers to start filling the grave immediately. So they were forced to run to the gravesite because they were just waiting for everybody to leave so that they could come up and have their own kind of thing after everybody else left. But Michelle's
being respectful.
No, put them in the ground.
I mean, I've heard stories and been to funerals or heard stories of where people who don't get along attend the same funeral and it's still respectful because you're there for a different reason.
When they ran over to the gravesite to attempt to pay their respects before he went into the ground.
Their son.
Michelle called the police on them.
What's pissing me off is that, like, I'm pretty sure that Michelle knows that they didn't do anything. And she's still depriving them of this instance with their son.
Yeah. The lead detective says that his instincts told him that Jack and the Despains weren't really the problem, though.
Yeah. I mean, they were so respectful and, like, it's, yeah.
Yeah. Looking back to when he interviewed Carl admitted he was at Mark and Michelle's house to drop off the rent collection the afternoon that Mark was killed.
Okay.
He said he didn't understand why the intruder would have attacked Mark instead of him, since he was the one with a wad of cash in hand. But it turned out that Carl, too, had an alibi, and it was confirmed on surveillance that he was at the bank where Michelle worked when Mark was shot.
Okay.
At some point, they then got a possible lead on the black man that was seen in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Someone called the police department with a tip that someone matching the man's description was bragging about shooting Mark. And it turned out to be a good tip.
Oh, okay.
Actually. It was a man named Terrence Barker, otherwise known on the street as Quelo. Your face. Quelo.
Okay. Now I'm picturing Questlove.
Oh, no. Don't picture Questlove.
I'm not.
I love Questlove. As the lead detective questioned Terrence, officers had tracked down the Mercedes that was also seen in the neighborhood and its owner, Johnny Hubbard. Johnny told them that he gave Quelo a ride to meet a man in the back of a church parking lot because the man wanted to hire someone for a job, but he didn't know what that job was.
He could have been moving gravel or something.
It's not exactly the entire truth, but he had a minimal role. So we'll get back to Johnny during the sentencing portion.
Okay. Putting a pin in Johnny.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, Terrence only needed a good stern talking to and a second night in jail before he cracked wide open.
Oh, nice and easy.
Yeah. He told the lead detective that he was promised $7,000 to $10,000 to shoot Marc Despain, but had been given nothing.
Why?
And when are they going to learn
that hitmen are more expensive?
Well, no, I understand why the people doing the hiring find, people like Quelo here to do it. But when are people like Quelo going to learn you ain't getting shit?
Also, like, half up front.
Yeah, but
right.
The thing is, why even if you got half up front? People like
Quelo need to understand that if somebody's only offering you $7,000 to $10,000 for a hit, they're clearly not serious because hitmen are way more expensive.
That too. But I just can't imagine, like, he had never met this guy before.
Right.
He didn't know. This wasn't someone he knew. Somebody comes up to you and is just like, hey, man, I need you to kill this person. I'll give you $7,000 to $10,000. They give you a ballpark.
I was going to say, that is a range.
They don't even give you an exact amount, and they don't have any of it right now. They'll give it to you afterwards.
Right.
When?
Seems
where?
Super legit.
How?
Right. Where is the drop point?
Detail. Like, at the very least.
Yeah. Come on, Quelo.
Quelo is not a good hitman. So.
I know what I meant. I was picturing Questlove, but also my brain kept going, there's another rapper. It's Quavo.
No, this is Quelo. Maybe his poor twin brother. I don't know.
Yeah, because Quavo is in Migos, or was in Migos. And then one of the Migos died. So no more Migos.
Yeah.
Do you want to see a video of me showing Elysia the Migos?
I had a very poor reaction. Yeah, it's not exciting. It got worked up in my mind, and then it wasn't as like crazy off the wall as I thought it was going to be, and so it just wasn't. Yeah.
Anyway, continue. Quelo.
So Quelo said that the man who hired him drove him to Mark's house, took him inside, told him where to lie in wait, if you will, and said Mark would be home soon and he wanted him to catch him off guard and make sure he's dead.
Okay.
And I believe he gave him a gun.
Well, I don't think, I mean, most hitmen don't bring their own gun. I'm just making that up.
I don't know. I feel like professional hitmen would have their own gun.
Oh, professional hitmen, yes.
Yeah, I think they would have their own gun because they'd be like, you dumbasses are just going to give me
your
whatever gun that's like registered. And then you're going to get caught and you're going to pin it on me.
Professional hitmen for sure bring their own gun. I'm talking Quelo off the street. It's like not going to have his own gun.
Yeah, true. Quelo did not have his own gun, I don't think.
And if he did, it's registered under Quelo.
Possibly.
It's Arkansas, so.
No surprise to the detective. Terrence named the man as Carl Kelly, Michelle's father.
Oh my gosh, he gave him his name? Like, he knew his name, like his
Apparently
first name.
Given him his name.
What
kind of person? Or described him or something. Somehow he like, confirmed. Okay. Maybe they showed him a picture of Carl. I don't know. I don't have that detail.
Okay, I was going to say, if he knew Carl's name, what kind of idiot Carl's...
But also, I would not be surprised if Carl did, give him the name, because... I don't remember if I put this in, but... because I'll give it away now. Carl actually knew Johnny Hubbard. Johnny Hubbard, the man driving the Mercedes, is the one that hooked...
Yeah, no, I think you did say that.
Him up with, but Johnny Hubbard tried to tell the cops, like, I don't know, Quelo just asked me for a ride, but no. In fact, Johnny knew Carl was looking for somebody. Johnny said, here's the man, and you'll see why a little later. But
also, professional hitmen, it's not like you know a guy, or I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We've been working together professionally. Do you have a reference for a hitman? That's not how hitmen work. Dark web. I'm sorry. Clearly, I went down a rabbit hole about hitmen one time. But
yeah, I was gonna say.
I did. I did go down a rabbit hole learning about hitmen one time, and so I know a little bit too much. But
to my knowledge, no one in Savannah's life has been killed.
No, it was when I did the Susan Walters episode.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, generally you can't trust the things that we know as true crime people because we just have to Google weird things sometimes.
Yeah, true. I try not to. I do my very best.
You don't want to be on a watch list?
No, I don't want to be on a watch list.
I think any kind of watch list that I'm on is easily explained by what we do.
Yeah.
I Google weird things for work sometimes too. So,
fair. Anyway, Kathy, Michelle's mother, says that she wasn't entirely surprised by the news that Carl had been arrested. She had apparently divorced Carl because he had an explosive temper and that he only never hit her because he didn't want to leave evidence.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who has an explosive temper?
But it wasn't uncommon for him to hold her at gunpoint.
Uh-huh.
After his arrest, Carl refused to talk without an attorney.
I hate when they're smart.
But that was okay, because detectives had already found witnesses that would testify to Carl making claims that Mark was abusing Michelle and he was sick of it. He was going to do something about it.
Okay.
When they invested those allegations, though, they found no evidence.
I was going to say, we've not heard anything about him abusing Michelle, so.
Jack and Tana believed that Carl would not have taken Mark's life without Michelle's involvement, and they had known Michelle to do nothing but manipulate everyone for her own self-interest. Tana outright accused Michelle of being a sociopath, which may have fallen on deaf ears, but the lead detective had already seen signs of exactly what Tana was referring to. During her interviews, he said she would sniffle and talk as if she were crying, but there were no actual tears. Which is funny because earlier in that Dateline episode where he explains that, I noticed the same thing as she was being interviewed by Keith Morrison.
Yeah.
She can.
Okay.
You know where I'm about to go, don't you?
I do.
So, unlike listeners of this podcast mistaking my neurological condition as though I'm crying when I speak,
If I ever find the person that wrote that review, I'm going to hit them. This is a threat.
I'm confident none of us are mistaken. Michelle is on video with grimace, sound, breath, and sniffle like she's crying, but her eyes are completely dry.
That's how I cry, obviously.
Is it not? So unless she has like a tear duct condition or issue.
Excuse me, I have dry eyes.
It's not believable.
I'm an ugly crier. I really hope I never have to be on Dateline because...
Yeah. Same.
I thought you were going like, yeah, you are an ugly crier. I was like, hey,
no,
what
I've never seen you cry that hard. I mean, I've seen you cry, but not
yeah,
mostly like happy cry. So it wasn't ugly.
I'm
cry.
like, when did you see me happy cry? And then I was like, oh, you were there when I got engaged. So that's probably when.
Yeah. That was the biggest time. Yeah. Investigators had also learned when speaking with neighbors that when she was sounding hysterical, talking to the 911 dispatcher, claiming to be at the neighbor's door, she was actually seen standing in their yard, seemingly calm, just appeared to be chatting on the phone. They saw her standing in their front yard, chatting on the phone, and they didn't go out to her. They wondered, like, why is she standing in the neighbor's yard?
But clearly she's not like running around.
But
being
nobody
like,
was like, oh my God, do you need help? What's wrong? Yeah.
I'm sorry. If I walked in and Nicholas had been killed, they would have to drug me. I mean, they would have to literally shoot me with a tranquilizer dart like a moose because I would be a distraught mess.
Yeah.
Everybody and their mothers. Like, there's just no containing that.
I mean, here's my thing.
I mean, obviously, everybody has a different reaction.
Yes.
I'm not saying that people who are calm that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like,
I wouldn't be like screaming or because when I get scared, I get quiet. But you would visibly be able to look at me and tell, whoa, something's really wrong. Like, clearly I would be crying. I probably wouldn't even be walking straight. Like, I probably would.
Yeah,
I don't know what, but it wouldn't surprise me if I was quiet. But I definitely wouldn't be standing in the middle of somebody's yard just like looking like I'm having a regular old conversation on the phone.
Right.
That's not how that would go.
Right.
So
that is really weird.
When they began digging into Michelle's actions just prior to Marc's death, they confirmed on surveillance video that she had been with Marc at the restaurant and the ice cream place. But phone records showed that there had been a number of calls and several text messages between her and Carl that day, especially during the lunch and ice cream portion.
It's almost like you're saying, we're leaving the ice cream place now.
The texts had been deleted from both of their phones, though. Terrence Barker confirmed that Carl had been texting the victim's wife the entire time they were together before going to the house.
I mean, you really can't fix stupid.
Mm-hmm. When the lead detective asked Michelle to come in for an interview after Carl's arrest, he made it clear that they were investigating her as well and asked point blank if she were involved. She said no, but admitted that she had been hiding something. She said she had been having an affair and that nobody knew, but their financial troubles were her fault. Okay. Remember, she was the bookkeeper.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. She had been dipping into their money to pay for her boyfriend's apartment and all his needs. She was his sugar mama.
I was gonna say she had a little mistress.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't understand because this isn't like Bridgerton era Regency where it's like I'll keep my mistress comfortable so she doesn't ruin my life. Whatever.
Yep.
People are weird.
So while she may have thought admitting something like that would make them go, oh, that's why you've been so weird, she was sorely mistaken. It now gave her motive as well.
Right.
They had discovered there were not one, but 2 life insurance policies on Mark for $500,000 each.
Holy.
She was potentially facing disgrace, divorce, and life as she knew it crashing to a halt unless Mark died. Then she'd potentially get $1 million.
And sometimes those are more if it's like murder or so. That's crazy. I don't get it. I mean,
detectives are looking at you, girl.
that's your husband that you've like raised children with and have built a life with, and to be able to just like turn that off, I don't understand it.
Well, Jack and Tana believed wholeheartedly that she was the mastermind and pushed detectives to keep searching.
Yeah, I'm not sure Carl's really got the brains of the operation.
But months went by with no hard evidence that she was involved. And Michelle seemed to be living the good life with her boyfriend and some of the insurance money, maybe.
Okay.
Finally, 9 months after the murder, an analyst had recovered some of the deleted text messages. They included the following. 8:20 a.m., Michelle wrote, "It has to be today. Can't live like this. Awful this morning." Carl responded asking if she could get him out of the house to go to lunch. When she said yes, his reply was, "Okay, I'll let you know what time." Texts between Michelle and Mark show that he didn't really want to go out to lunch, but Michelle basically begged or guilted him into it. Michelle was finally arrested and charged with capital murder for orchestrating the entire thing. She, of course, denied it. She claimed that the text involved a plot, but not a plot of murder. Just a plot to leave Mark. She told Dateline in her interview that Carl was supposed to be at their house with a couple of people moving her things out while Mark was at lunch so she wouldn't have to go back. But he changed the plan and never told her.
Okay.
She swore that she had no idea what he had done when she left the bank that day. So, Michelle was out on bail awaiting her trial, and this was when some of the most important and interesting legal work was done.
Okay.
Her defense team worked on getting the charges dropped because the police had not gotten a search warrant for every single one of the text messages that they ultimately recovered.
Okay, I feel like I want to see the search warrant that they did get and how it was written and like why they would say that they needed a separate one for each.
I do not have that. I did not find that.
Oh, I figured you wouldn't. That's normally, it's not normally out there. But that's like
common sense would be like, what the hell? Yeah. Like, you're searching text messages. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever's recovered.
Because, I mean, like, from a logistics standpoint, I just took the CLE about e-discovery and how they do that. There's no way that they can go through these text messages. Like, they get these text messages from the phone company. Like, yeah. Or whoever, whatever third party they go through, they're going to give them everything that they receive. Like,
right. Apparently, it must have been law. Like, I don't know that the laws had caught up in Arkansas to where technology was at that point. Because it appears that it just wasn't a risk that the prosecutors wanted to take. So they then offered a plea deal where Michelle would admit that she had knowledge of who was involved after the crime and had not disclosed it to police. Her charge was lessened to hindering apprehension.
That's stupid.
Jack and Tana accepted it, knowing that even if they had made it to trial, All it would take is one sympathetic juror, and Michelle would be off the hook.
Right.
So, ultimately, all 4 individuals involved made deals or pled guilty to something. Okay, so Johnny Hubbard, the Mercedes chauffeur, if you will, was then thrown under the bus by his good old buddy Quelo, Terrence Barker. In his confession, Terrence told detectives that Johnny had introduced him, like I said, to Carl in the first place, and picked him up at the Despain's neighborhood after the shooting was done, which I'm assuming was when neighbors saw him like driving through the neighborhood. He was looking for Quelo. Johnny was also on probation for drug charges at the time. So, A, I'm guessing that's why he didn't take the job himself.
Right.
But B, that's he ended up charged with hindering apprehension as well. And his original sentencing for the drug charges were then reinstated.
Right.
So he got, keep this in mind. When I tell you this number, I want you to keep it in mind. Okay?
Oh, Lord. Okay.
He got 18 years for hindering apprehension.
Uh-huh.
And then he got the 40 years for reinstated charges from the drug charges.
Okay. All right.
So the judge ordered they be served consecutively for a total of 58 years.
Got it. The numbers are in there. They're in my head.
He is currently serving his time in Wrightsville, Arkansas. Terrence Quelo Barker pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 35 years, and he is currently serving his time in Dermott, Arkansas. He'll be eligible for parole in 2036.
Okay.
Pretty standard.
That's a pretty standard sentence.
Carl Kelly pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and admitted that he conspired with Johnny Hubbard, Terrence Baker, and his daughter Michelle to kill Mark. He was sentenced to 35 years, but I was unable to find anything on him currently. I could not find him in the inmate search. I could not find an obituary. I'm honestly not sure
what's up,
but it's entirely possible that he died in prison.
Right.
Because he was older. And if he died in prison, obviously him and Michelle like turned on each other. So I don't know that anybody would have really done much for him if he had died in prison. And finally, Marc Despain pleaded guilty to hindering apprehension, just like Johnny Hubbard. Unlike Johnny, though, Michelle only received a 5-year sentence and was released from prison in 2018.
I figured when you said she was interviewing with Keith Morrison that this was not a jailhouse interview.
At the time it was.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, was the sentencing had to have been that he was a repeat offender.
I'm guessing.
Because sometimes the sentencing structure and the statutes are based on, they have clauses that say if repeat offender, add this many years.
Yes.
Still dumb that she can be charged with that. I mean, especially when, so stupid. She must have done her plea before her dad did his plea then.
I'm not sure about that. I don't know.
Because if she had accepted her plea before, they can't try to charge her again after. If he had said afterwards, oh yeah, she was involved, she already accepted a plea deal, they're done.
Yeah.
So it had to have been after.
True. Probably.
That's just so unsettling.
I was trying really hard not to sound biased because I don't really want to go into my thoughts on the matter. But I will share these facts.
Okay.
In 2012, Michelle had filed a lawsuit against Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company alleging breach of contract and bad faith after they denied her claim of benefits.
What?
Jack and Tana are named as third-party defendants, but there isn't much mention of them throughout the documents, so I'm guessing they're just listed there as they may have filed a claim as well.
Yeah, they probably did.
Shortly after filing the suit, Michelle had to motion the court to stay all deadlines pending her criminal proceedings. But then she, of course, withdrew the claim when she was officially charged. That's where legal lesson of the day. You cannot make claims on a life insurance policy if you are found to have had a hand in the person's death.
Right.
FYI. So, the $500,000 from the policy payout was being held by the court, and they awarded, through that whole ordeal, they awarded a little over $10,000 back to the insurance company for attorney fees and costs from that suit.
Right.
I could not confirm, but I'm assuming that either the Despain family were able to make the claim for the rest of the money, or maybe it was like put into a trust for their kids or something.
Yeah. It would have been dependent on how he had his beneficiaries
exactly
listed. Yeah.
Yeah. So where are they now?
Where are they now, Elysia?
I'm a stalker. I believe I found Michelle on social media.
Oh.
If I'm correct, she appears to be happily remarried.
I knew that she would be too.
Take that as you will.
Also, I don't think I could ever marry somebody who was involved with the death of their spouse.
Hell to the no.
How?
I don't know how people do it.
How do you just that is the person statistically like most likely to kill you is your spouse.
Yeah.
And you're just gonna like double the odds.
Yeah.
You must feel really lucky at the casinos, friend.
I don't know. And I don't know if it's the boyfriend that she was I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Who knows?
I just found a woman by the name of Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously different last name. Looks a lot like her.
Like a lot?
Like a lot. And then there was some like wedding pictures, family wedding pictures, and the son looks a lot like Marc Despain. So we'll just
say that.
I don't recommend like looking for her. Please do not bother her. Obviously, I did not, but that was way too interesting to not share.
Yeah.
I also found Mark's mom and sister. They too are listed under different names, different last names.
Yeah.
They appear to be doing well. I did not find anything about Jack. And it had been some time since like Tana had posted any pictures with Jack and stuff. So, but I didn't find any obituary on him. So given their age, like maybe it's possible that he could even be in nursing care or something at this point. I'm not sure. I hope that he's doing well. I hope that they're all doing well.
Yeah.
Jack,
or, I mean, what time of year did you look? Because he may have been busy. Checking it twice. It's going to find out if
true.
They're naughty or nice.
He and Tana had started a nonprofit called Mark's Place to assist families of victims. And this is another reason that I'm like, what happened to Jack? Because it hasn't operated in at least a few years now. So, there you go. I wish I knew where Santa Claus went, but
I know where Santa Claus is.
I don't know. Tana would make a really good Mrs.
Claus.
Too.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They're in the North Pole, obviously.
Maybe. I don't know. There you go. Happy Father's Day.
Is coming
couple really good fathers.
To town.
Couple really good fathers.
And
one really
Carl.
shitty father.
Yeah, and then there's Carl. Well, I mean, what a good case.
Yeah.
I don't have any words. I'm done.
That's it. That's all.
That's
folks.
all she wrote.
If you made it this far in the episode, leave us the little like shirt and tie emoji. There's a little like amongst the clothes. There's a little shirt and tie emoji for dads. I don't know. That seems like a very dad thing. Yes. And
also, if you liked this episode, it reminded me of the Lisa Knofel episode from when we first started. So if you would like an episode, it's not at all the same, but it is kind of.
I was going to say, it's not really the same.
It's not at all the same. So if you want something like slightly different, but like with the same like vibes.
Yeah.
I recommend that one.
Nice.
Thanks for listening, you guys.
Thank you. And if you like what you heard,
Yeah.
Please reach out on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen that allows ratings. That's one of the best ways to help us.
Yes, we appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you on our social media pages, and we will talk to you next week.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, guys. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at Burden of Proof Pod and email us at burdenofproofpod@gmail.com.